Hi, today I will be presenting on mutual funds, and so this is for the Cleantech Connect project, a part of the Do the Bright Thing mentorship program, and this is fall of 2018. And so just a little bit about me to start off. My name is Justin Leonard. I'm currently a junior at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and I am majoring in finance with a minor in the Sustainability, Energy, and Environment Fellows Program. And this has been an incredible opportunity. I'm very, very grateful that I had the privilege to join the Do the Bright Thing program. It's very important to me that I'm on the battle against climate change, because I think that is the one thing that truly will affect every living thing on the planet, and I want to be a part of the solution, not the problem. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity to present my project. And so the prompt that I was given for the project is, by 2030, how will we get to 100% renewable energy? And so the first thing that I did with this is I looked at the energy mix from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. And so as you can see from this, natural gas and coal are giant masses in this mix. And you can see that hydropower, wind, biomass, and solar, typically thought of as your renewables, are roughly only 15%. And so we have a long way to go by 2030 if we want to be 100% renewable. And so this is another chart, and this one shows current investment spendings on renewables. And so in the green we have developing countries, and then in the blue we have developed countries. And you can see that investments in this industry over time have increased. And developing countries are putting more into this than developed currently. And then another problem that we have is currently there are 1.2 billion people worldwide that do not have access to electricity. And being from the US, you take for granted how prevalent electricity is. But the reality is, around the world, there are more than 1 billion people that don't have access to what we think of as a standard of living. And so electricity worldwide would drastically increase the standard of living in countries that has it as generally low right now. And so just to recap the biggest problem, we're currently at 15% of our energy portfolio is renewable. And then our investments are roughly $280 billion in 2017 into clean technology. And the overlying problem is 1.2 billion people worldwide are without electricity. And so my problem is, how do I fix all three of these problems with one solution? And so just another thing is the current state of investing. And so right now, as bad as it sounds, is people are following the money. And so big oil and big gas companies are still being invested in because they're being profitable. And so here's a quote from Bloomberg Business Week. The article is called "Climate Change Will Get Worse. These Investors Are Betting on It." And it says, "In the meantime, investors can be a societal warning system, alerting the public to a risk it has otherwise been reluctant to see. If people are making money off it, that gets attention." And so you can see that if investments in the clean technology industry are profitable, investors will take notice and will start putting more and more money into this industry. But currently it has to prove that it's profitable. And so this leads me to the stat of $18.7 trillion, and that is the current total net asset value of mutual funds in the US. And just what mutual funds are is they're a pool of money that's taken and invested into securities such as bonds, debts, and stocks and bonds. And so you can see that this is a staggeringly large number. And so this leads me to my proposal on how to fix this problem. And that is, I would require 5% of all mutual fund investments to be invested in the clean technology industry. And so while 5% doesn't seem like a ton, when you put that 5% to the $18.7 trillion, you can see how much money this truly is. And so what that would equate to is $935 billion. And Adding that to the current of $280 billion, that would equate to $1.215 trillion, and that would be the total investments in clean energy. So as you can see, that would be a 340% growth in the clean technology industry. This would be massive for renewable energy because for the first time you'd start to see companies be competitive with each other, which will lower costs of a ton of inputs into renewable energy. Additionally, you'll see more research and development into current and new technologies, which will be very, very beneficial for the global population. And like I mentioned earlier, it's very important that renewable energies are proven to be profitable. So for this 5% requirement to work, these companies will have to grow and prove that they can hold the dominant market share. And so some examples of companies that are already succeeding, the first being Tesla. So Tesla creates electric cars, and they also have a solar market within Tesla called Solar City that they bought out. And so 5 years ago, the price of the stock was $126, and today the current stock price is $338. So as you can see, this is a 168% change, which would bring a smile to any investor's face getting a return that large. And additionally, Solar Edge Technologies, they create PV cells, and 5 years ago the price was $21, and it's currently $41. So you see that 95% change. And then last, we have Renewable Energy Group, which is a biomass company. And 5 years ago it was 13, and it's now 30, resulting in a 130% change. So from this is a very small sample size. However, there are a lot more companies in the clean tech industry that are thriving and that are growing. And you can see that this industry would be smart to put investments in because it will only continue to grow as we get closer to that 100% goal. And so here are just some effects of the 340% growth. So for utility scale solar, the levelized cost of energy is around 6 cents. And currently solar is not the best, most viable option for battery storage, and that's the biggest drawback to it. However, in the future, we could get levelized cost of energy down to 2 cents, which would make battery storage now available for solar, which really has not been possible in the past. And then this is a study that just came out from University of Texas at Austin Energy Institute. And so the quote is, "Natural gas, solar, and wind are the cheapest ways to generate electric power." And so that is current. And as you saw from my last slide, if the levelized cost of energy decreases, we would then see that solar and wind could overtake natural gas and take upon that share that natural gas once had in our energy portfolio. And so this brings me back to the global impact that this 5% requirement would have on the world. And so we see from this graphic that 600 million people in sub-Saharan Africa are currently without electricity. So if you remember in the beginning of my presentation, I said that 1.2 billion people worldwide. So this is half of that. And if you see this 5% requirement in the US would have a global impact. Like I mentioned, solar, the inputs in solar would decrease, and this would finally be a viable option to create a mass amount of electricity. And with Africa being known as a sunspot, you would be able to see for the first time solar being implemented at mass, and it would drastically change the lives of people that currently do not have electricity. So an example of that would be a village that has never had electricity. Their standard of living would be very, very low without electricity. But if you can bring in this renewable source of electricity, for the first time they would have electricity and it would not create any carbon. So this would help not only get to 100% renewable energy, but it would also tackle climate change because it would be non-emitting carbon. And so here are some more outcomes of this 5% fee. So we would see wind grow and grow. So with this growth into the industry, you would see more companies sprout up and trying to get access into this. And additionally, you would see competitive prices because you would have so many companies come in researching wind, researching how to make wind turbines as cheap as they can. And you would see the price drop of wind. And like I mentioned with solar, the price of PV cells will decrease and we will see a result in more residential and commercial development, and especially on a global scale, like I mentioned with Africa. And then additionally, we will see nuclear energy. And so nuclear is not the best long-term solution for renewable energy because of ways of storage. However, it does emit no CO2, which is very, very important against the battle against climate change. And so nuclear would be a part of our energy portfolio until renewables became large enough that we could phase out nuclear as well. And the biggest thing is what can you do? Because an idea starts with one person, but will only spread if multiple people attach themselves to that idea and run with it. So word of mouth is the biggest thing. Speak with your peers about ways to help battle climate change, and this 5% requirement on mutual funds could truly make a difference and impact the world greatly. So if you think this is a good idea, talk to your peers. You never know how much influence someone can have until you talk with them. And then in addition, lobby groups can make a huge impact, and they can bring things to the attention of the government that they currently did not know about. And so here are two examples of lobbyist groups, Natural Resources Defense Council and the Sierra Club, and they would both really attach themselves to this idea because it would help solve the problem of climate change and help further the missions of both of these lobbying groups. And then finally, it would be up to the SEC to enforce this 5% requirement. And ultimately, that would be a result of public demand for this. And if the 5% in clean tech is shown to be profitable, and you can see that not only will investors make money off of it, but it will help battle against climate change, the SEC will be forced to take action. All in all, the 5% requirement fee would go a long way. You would see competitive prices, you would see more development in new technologies, and you would see more electricity being provided worldwide and not emitting carbon, which is the biggest factor. And so that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for watching, and I would like to give a special thank you to the Do the Right Thing program. I've learned so much throughout these 8 weeks, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity. And then additionally, my mentor, Brian Vaughn. Brian has been fantastic throughout these 8 weeks. He's so passionate about this industry and truly wants to make a difference within this industry. And he believes in me as a person and what I could do in this industry. And I've grown tremendously throughout these 8 weeks, both professionally and personally, due to him. And if you have any questions about my presentation, please feel free to reach out to me at my email. And thank you for your time. I hope you all have a nice day.